Good afternoon now, and welcome. I know that we have some guests, and so I want to say welcome again. And there's two other announcements that we've kind of forgotten about. Number one is this Friday is our movie night here. So the reason why we haven't really been pushing it is because we don't know what the movie night is yet. So it'll be a surprise, but we are going to do movie night, and for us, you know what movie night is. We bring everybody in here, and maybe a kid and adult movie. We may have to separate it just because there wasn't a whole lot of kid stuff out there, but we do have movie night this week. And the other thing is that we are going to be doing some baptisms here in about 30 minutes or so. So really, if you don't have a camera or you don't have a cell phone or something like that, borrow one, get somebody somebody who has one, because there's going to be some great photo ops. So we're in the middle of this series, Alter Ego, and we've been going through this thing for like this is our third week, and today we're in our need, or this right to be offended. Sometimes we feel we have this right to be offended for something that has happened in our life or something that's gone on, and we're going to lay this down today. We're going to kind of give it up, because we continue to go, oh, I can just, they did this to me, they did that to me, whatever it is, we're going to lay that down. So when you look at the title of the series, you see Alter Ego, and it's based off of a book by Craig Groeschel. And if you, I have an extra book, but I'm letting somebody read it now. Actually, it's being held up in the back there. But and really, it kind of ties in together with it. We're not stealing information from the book. We're just using the biblical information that we're kind of going through. And really, alter is spelt wrong on purpose. It's not an alter ego where, you're Batman and then all of a sudden you're Bruce Wayne. It's alter ego the altar is where you're going to lay something down at. You're going to lay it down, you're going to give it up, and you're going to stop trying to take control of it. And really, we're going to make a sacrifice, and that's what our altar is. And then ego, it's what we think about ourselves, what we think, where our mindset is, how are we putting things together in between our earlobes, right? And that's really what it comes down to, is alter ego. We need to sacrifice some of the things that we think about ourselves. Next week, we're going to kind of finish off with this, our longing for approval. But today, let's dive in. So, most of you guys know is that throughout my past, I've been a heathen most of the time, up until recently. I was out there acting a nut. And I had, how do I put this nicely? I'm very easily angered. I'm very easily offended. You step on my shoes. Hey, what'd you do that for? You stop in front of me in Disneyland, be walking along, and somebody just comes to a stop, like, hey, look at that. And I walk into you. I get upset. Not because I walked into you, but because you stopped in the middle of the walkway. It's a walkway. It didn't say stop. No place. There wasn't a sign to the right or left. You just stopped and you said, oh, I'm going to look at this map now. And I would get very angry. Yeah, I got so angry where Disneyland said, you might want to leave, sir. And I said, So I was very easily offended. Very, very easily offended. So this morning on my way to work, or on my way into here, I live literally, my drive to work is 30 seconds. It does not take me long to get here. It's not like I have this long commute. And as I pulled out of my driveway, I had to come over here, and I had a lot of other things in my mind, like how I flooded the sanctuary today. So I had a lot of things on my mind, and so I was trying to get here, and I was trying to get here in a hurry, and I got in the wrong lane over here on Claybank. So as I was crossing over Airbase, I was in the wrong lane. And as we came across, I was in the wrong. I was in the turning lane, and I was going to go straight. So I went straight, and I cut this guy off, and he honked at me, and he flipped me off. And he was very, very adamant that I knew that he flipped me off. And I got, a little angry, What? I was clearly in the wrong. It was my fault. I was clearly in the wrong, but I got angry because of what he did. Some of us get angry about such small, trivial things. We'll be driving along, and I'll be doing 90 down the freeway. The person in front of me is doing 40, maybe 35. That's how I feel, because when I had to slam on the brakes and the car fishtails for how fast I'm going, and they're right in the fast lane, move, get out of the way. And there's two pieces of glass, so I'm very comfortable yelling and screaming through my piece of glass, knowing that they're probably not going to hear it through their piece of glass. And I'll pull up next to them, and I might even get the courage to roll down the window to where I know there's just another piece of glass and say something that might be offensive. And then, but sometimes they have their piece of glass already down. And so when I pull up next to them and I go to roll down my piece of glass, I think twice and go, oh, I'll just leave that up. And just, those two pieces of glass give us lots of courage, don't they? As you're yelling and screaming. And then you look over and go, ooh, he can actually hear me. Sometimes we get offended sometimes. Or and I kind of find it now, and it's taken a long time now, is that I'll be driving along in my truck and I don't really go speeding down the road anymore. I used to, it's pretty funny is that when we leave here some nights, Ben takes off out of here, and he'll be down at the stop sign around the corner over here before I can even get out of the driveway. And I'm like, man, where'd he go? And he's already gone. I mean, he's like 3 streets away before I even get to the stop. And I'm like, man, what happens? So I'm a lot slower. I take a lot more time now. And now I happen to be the guy that people think is doing 35 or 40 miles an hour because they pull up behind me, they give me the double gun salute. They give me both fingers, and they go, and they tell me how they feel. I just give them the thank you wave. Hi, how you doing? Sorry you feel that way. I know, I'm not, I'm such a horrible human being that I do the speed limit sometimes. And that's how we get it. But guys, we get offended so easily sometimes. Instead of giving them the thank you wave, we usually flip them back off, don't we? Or usually we say something offensive back to them. Or usually we get upset. So maybe we don't get invited to the party. And we get angry with the person who's doing the invite. You see it posted all over Facebook or all over Twitter or whatever, and you go, how come I didn't get invited? Or maybe somebody's very slow to respond to you on Facebook. You send them a post, you send them a message, they never get back to you. And instead of going, hey, maybe they're really busy, we go, they don't even like me. That's how we get. We get offended. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Instead of going, where you got to go must be really important, and you must be late, or you must have something on your mind, we come up with something else, and we're like, just a flood of emotions come out of our mouth, and we're really not angry at the person in front of us. We're really angry at some other situation that's already happened. And what we have to, really what we have to start doing is giving up some of these emotions, and it's just this right to be offended. Sometimes people just don't tell us thank you. That offends us. Thank you. And we're like, well, without that, it's like, man, I don't understand. Why is it that I gave you this? I gave you money. I do that all the time. I give somebody money as I'm walking out, Little Caesars. It seems that they love hanging out there. And I'll give them some, and a lot of times they don't even say thank you. And for me, that's kind of an offensive thing. It's like, why? I'm helping you out. Maybe they say something bad to you. Can you believe how she dresses? Oh. For you guys who don't know, in our church, we don't want to press upon everybody in here. We don't want to press upon people going, hey, we need money, we need money, we need money, we need money. We hate to do that. It's one of those things that came from a church. That's what, they spent 20 minutes in service talking about it. So we try and do alternative ways to raise money. We do a thrift store, we rent our facility out, and we do just different things. And we've really tightened down the restrictions on what we do now. But last night we had an event here, and it wasn't in this room, it was in our youth room, and they did like this, I don't know, it was like a beach party, high school graduation type thing. And I guess when somebody heard beach, even though it was going to be at 9 o'clock at night, they decided that they were going to wear the most revealing swimwear they could absolutely find. And some of them didn't even show up in swimwear. Some of them showed up just wearing a bra. And not that they didn't have on pants along with it. They weren't just like showing up and like, I'm going to cover these up, but everything else is good for you to see. But it was they had everything covered up, and they just wore a bra. And you look at it and you go, and my wife can kind of be stalkerish a little bit. So she stands in my office and she's watching people walk in there, and she's going, can you believe them? She was offended by them. It was offensive how they were dressed and how they were acting. And we look at it, and for me, I look and I just go, we're not going to be able to change them from inside this glass room, babe. We're going to have to, it's just not going to happen. That's why we have Melinda. Put some clothes on, I don't know where I think she disappeared on us. We're easily offended. Why do we allow small offenses to affect us in such big ways? Why is it that we look at it, such small things just tear us up? Our egos continue to win. What we think about things, it just continues to win. It over and over and over again. It always is, it bothers us. It lives inside of us. It becomes part of our brain. It becomes, we think about things 9 months later, we'd be like, you remember when you did this to me and that, da-da-da-da? I mean, it's so amazing on how things just live in our brains for so long. And we basically let the enemy win. We just let them win because they live in our head. I told the story in last service, and it's not part of my notes, but there's two monks, and they're walking along the road as they're traveling. And, they don't, and if you don't know, monks don't usually, they avoid contact with women. And they get to this point where they get to this river, and there's a woman standing on the side, and she's trying to cross the river, and she goes, and one of the monks picks her up. This is in their culture, they avoid this. And he picks her up, and he helps her across, puts her down, and they continue on their venture. And they continue on their journey. And a mile later, and if you're walking a mile, and if you're depending upon how your pace is, maybe it takes a half hour. Maybe it takes an hour. But the other monk turns to him and goes, I can't believe what you did. I can't believe that you touched her, that you sinned, that you... And the one monk looks at it and goes, I helped her. And instead of you going, hey, that's great that you helped her out, you want to live on this and you want to live in the negative, and you've been living in it for the last hour. You've been living in the negative. Guys, something that doesn't even affect us, we will let it dwell and grow and anger us miles later, and we just walk away and we go, why is it? I don't understand. And we don't understand why we just allow these things to affect us so much. It's because of our egos. Our egos make it to where we have such issues. Most of us are looking to be offended. We're just looking for it. It's such a miserable way of life. We look to be offended. Proverbs 19:11, a man's wisdom gives him patience. It is to his glory to overlook an offense. We are quick to judge. We are quick to call foul. We are quick to be offended. And really, it leads to us being very quick to anger. All these things, the more we're offended, the more often that we keep calling, you hurt me, you fouled me, you did this. It continues to make us angrier, 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 and we become slower and slower to overlook offenses. We become so slow to overlook the things that are so important to us that we go, I can't continue to dwell on this. I can't continue to just live this way. Now, I want to tell you is that overlooking is not the same thing as pretending it didn't happen. When little Tommy comes in and he steals your lunch out of the refrigerator, that doesn't mean that you just continue to put your lunch in the refrigerator to continue to allow him to steal it. Maybe you hide it a little better. Maybe you put it in a drawer. Or maybe you just go, you know what? Really, little Tommy's looking for some help. And instead of being angry, how about I just make 2 sandwiches? How about I bring 2 sandwiches in and actually help my neighbor instead of going, why'd you steal my lunch? Well, I stole it because I'm hungry. I didn't steal it because I was looking to piss you off. I stole it because I wanted some food. And it was there. And your name wasn't on it. Or whatever other excuse they come up with. Because that's what all of us do, right? I mean, we've opened the, there's a Coke there. There's no name on this. Just Coke. It's good. The next person comes in, where's my Coke at? Well, you didn't put your name on it. I wanted it. I was thirsty. We always have a reason for it. We have a reason why we do something, and that person gets offended. The person behind you, they always do. We have to make a conscious decision to let it go. We have to form a way for forgiveness. We have to just go, you know what? It doesn't matter. It was a soda. It was a lunch. Whatever it was, I want to help. I want to be able to help my neighbor. I want to be able to help the people around me. We just have to make this conscious decision to let it go. Instead of harboring it and letting it and dwelling on it. Can you imagine? You stole my Coke. I'm going to go home and yell at my wife tonight. Because that's what we do. It's exactly what we do. You stole my Coke. Now I'm going to go take it out on somebody I love. I guess it's what it does. It dwells in us. It builds up, and we just end up going out and become angry about things that don't even matter anymore. For by grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment in accordance with the measure of faith God has given you. That's Romans 12:13. Because of God's grace to me, because what God has given to me, number one is, I'll give others the benefit of the doubt. Ephesians 4:2. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults. Making allowance for each other's faults. Okay? Each other. Both of us. Because all of us have faults. We all have things. And the reason why is because of love. Ephesians 4:2. Because of your love. We all have faults. We all have issues. We all have things that we've done. Every one of us in here has stolen a pencil from work. We're all thieves at some point. At some point, I've worked for companies that come out and they go, "You're fired for that." For what? You stole a pen. I walk out here with pens every day. You're going to fire me for a pen? I mean, we do things. There's faults that all of us have. There's mistakes. We've all lied. We've all cheated. We've all done these different things. Maybe not cheated on a spouse, but you've cheated on a test. You've looked over at the person, that one's wrong, I think. Or we change your answer. We've all done it. Each and every one of us in here. Nobody in here is walking around going, "No, I'm perfect." That's right. All of this, perfect. My wife thinks I'm perfect. Nobody else in here does. Cameron and I were driving up the road a couple days ago, and we're driving up Peabody Road, cruising along, and we were just spending time together. That's what everybody thinks. Everybody thinks that Cameron and I are in this massive relationship, and So as we're cruising along, cruising up the road, and from his postings, sometimes, man, you realize how gay you make me sound right now. So sometimes we'll be cruising along the road, we're driving, and on Thursday we were driving up, and we're going to, we're on our way, or on Friday, we were on our way up to Sam's Club, and we're driving up there, and going up Peabody, because you guys, this last week, have you guys noticed how horrific the traffic has been everywhere around here? Hours and hours and hours of traffic. So we're cruising along, we're going up Peabody, and I'm doing 45, because that's what the speed limit is, and we get to the point where somebody in front of us is doing like 17 miles an hour. And I swerve over a little. I'm pretty nosy, so I swerve over a little bit, and I get to the point where there's enough room for me to drive on the shoulder. I can make it. I know that if I just, and the person in front of me was only doing like 17 miles an hour. And, there was something going on in the car, though. You could kind of tell that the two of them were having a discussion, and it wasn't one of those peaceful discussions. It wasn't like, "Hey, it's been great, let's enjoy the sun." You could tell it was more, "I hate you" type of conversation that was going on back and forth with the two in the car. And I just thought better to just pull back in, and I knew that it was only going to, I could get there a couple minutes later. I run late to everything, in case you don't know. So it wouldn't really make a difference. Nobody would think anything different of it. And so as we pulled in, and when I finally did get to where the prison is up here off of Peabody, we separate, and the husband and wife were in the car, and I'm assuming they're husband and wife, but they were yelling and screaming, and they were fighting the whole way up there. Could you imagine what would have happened if I would have passed him on the shoulder? The line she would have gave him? "See, you can't even drive. The people are passing you on the shoulder. That's how much of a failure you are." And who knows what could have been said in the car for me not being patient. For me, I can just ride along. I would have offended them because I was in a hurry. I could have made it to where their relationship or something, and who knows how their conversation ended up turning out. I haven't seen them or I don't even know who they were, but I look at it and I go, I could have made things worse, or I could just slow down and take life a little slower and not be offended by such small, trivial things. People might be having a bad day. They might be distracted. There might be a misunderstanding. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt. You have to look at them and you just have to know what's going on and you just have to go, they didn't do it on purpose. They just literally did not slow down at 17 miles an hour because they knew that I was coming. They knew Mike was going to drive up and was going to be right behind them. They knew I was on the way. Most of the time, they have no idea, and they just have their own things going on. They just miss it. We have to remember that this whole world is not all about us. It's not about me. It's not just about, hey, I'm going to do my thing. If I'm in a bad mood, it doesn't mean that I'm in a bad mood towards you. A lot of times, you guys, people walking around here, and I've got all this, you think I'm in a bad mood, and I'm really not. I've just got a lot of stuff weighing on my shoulders. I got stuff going on. But wait a minute, Mike's mad at me. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I'm just in a bad mood. Can I have those days? You know, careless driver. It's not about me. They just don't know how to drive. You know, I mean, that's just what it is. Us men, we get to the point where we get, the PMS status from our wives or from our, we go, I was just talking to Cameron about it. I said, hey, Cameron, you got an extra room at your house. Can I come stay a few days? And sometimes we have to leave instead of being supportive, instead of being helping, we go, it's because of this, or it's because you're doing this, and you're full of, instead of being helpful, well, here, let me take the kids from you for a little while so you can relax. We go, I'm out of here. I'm taking off. I can't be around you right now. You married that person. You're going to be around them forever. You better get used to the 3 or 4 days a month that it's bad. It just got to happen. Our problem is, I'll tell you guys, most of the time I'm preaching to myself up here. Just got to get used to it, Just got to get used to it. One of these things, guys, we have to remember is that for us, we've always done it all of our lives, is that we've lived in this mindset that we have very, very thick skin. And so we don't allow people in. We don't allow people past our outer shell. As kids, you go, sticks and stones. Come on. They break my bones. And then we have the other one. I'm rubber. You're glue. Whatever. See? We all have these things, right? We have these, you can't hurt me with that. We build up the defense. Starts young. We build, and all of a sudden, at some point, we end up with this brick wall in front of us. It starts with skin, and then we go to like some plexiglass type of material. So yeah, you can see me, but you can't really get to me. I mean, and then it ends up being this brick wall. You get this big, huge brick wall where nobody sees you, and you become irrelevant in people's lives because your skin is so thick, and you just don't let people in. Because you're afraid of when people get to that chest cavity and they get to your heart, you're afraid of what they can do. You're afraid of the piercing. You're afraid of the hurt that they can just get to, because that's what happens. We build these walls. We build and build and build, and all of a sudden, and guys, we're not fast to tear them down, are we? We build these things up, and we're like, oh, I'll take a brick out of the way for you. Good luck climbing. And that's just how we get. We have these tough outer shells because we're afraid, and we know what happens when people can get to our heart. We're very, very, very scared about what that is. We wonder what people are going through all the time. Melissa and I be driving along, be going, what's going on here? How are things going? How are they doing? We always wonder. Guys, it's like some of us, we need to have drama in our lives, right? We have to have it. It's like when there's no drama in our lives, we'll go create some drama in our lives. Let's go start an argument. We always want commotion for some reason. It's scary. You know why? It's because, and I used this line the last time, is hurt people hurt people. Hurt people hurt people. It's just really simple, is that the more you're hurting, the more you're going to hurt some other people. It's very, very simple. And guys, we do it all the time. The more that we hurt, the more that we turn around and go, I'm going to hurt somebody around me. You can tell when people are truly happy because the people around them are happy too. They do everything they can to get other people happy. They go, hey, come on, let's go do something fun, or let's go do this, or they are the life of the party. They just are. Every time you talk to them, they go, man, I feel so much better. It's because they're just not hurting. They live without that drama. They live without that fear. They live without, they just go, you know what? I'm going to be hurt. So what? That's part of life. Let me just move on. They stop taking things so personal and living with it miles later. They get down the road and they go, oh, who cares that he carried somebody? They just don't care. It doesn't matter because it's not worth it. They're just living in your brain. What difference does it make? Number 2, I will not label others. Like I said, we've all lied, cheated, stole something. We're not going to categorize one person over one incident. Something happens, we're not going to categorize them because of that. The Bible tells us, it's Luke 36:37, or Luke 6:36-37. It says, "Be merciful just as your Father is merciful. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven." We do it all the time. He's a jerk. She's a gossip. She said this about me. He said that about me. He's a loser. They're a loser. They're a failure. That, whatever. We do it all the time. That's just what we do. We look at them and we go, failure. We don't know anything about them, and we don't know anything about the situation that they've gone through. Or this person did this, or this person did that. You have absolutely no idea what yesterday was for them. You have no idea what they went through, what sort of financial troubles they went through, what they had their job was, whatever it was, but we categorize them based off of one incident with them. We drive along, we see somebody on the side of the road, and all of a sudden we think that just because they're homeless, that all of a sudden they're drug addicts, they're alcoholics, and they're thieves. That's not the case. Because I know people that are homeless that are not drug addicts, alcoholics, or thieves. They're homeless because they tried to have everything, and then all of a sudden lost everything. And they're homeless because they aren't out stealing and doing everything else, because they're trying to get back on their feet and they're living in their cars. But he's a loser. He's on the street. You have no idea what happened. And you're just being so quick to judge. It's not fair to people, and it's not what your Father in heaven wants you to do. He says it very clearly, forgive others. Don't judge. And he tells you the consequences of not doing that. The consequences are, you get to go to hell. If you don't forgive, you don't stop judging people, you don't stop labeling people, you get to go to hell. That is awful. We're told to love one another, we're told to help one another grow, we're told to bring more disciples in. We were never once told to go out, hey, let's go out and let's start telling people that you're losers, that you're judged. We're never told to do any of that. In fact, we're told to love, help people grow, help people through situations. Instead of them stealing all the time, let's help them get through what they're going through. Nope, they're a thief, not going to help them. Or they're doing this, or they're doing that. We have to change how we look at things. We have to make it different. We have to give up this right to be offended. As you dig deeper and deeper and deeper, what it really comes down to in the Bible is, number 3, I will forgive as I've been forgiven. I'm going to forgive the people around me just as my Father has forgiven me. It's a simple, simple answer. Colossians 3:13, make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Anyone who offends you. Forgive anyone who offends you. So last service, and I'm not going to say any names, but last service I had a woman come up to me at the end of service. 29 years ago, her sister was killed by her husband, and she was 8 months pregnant. I'm not going to go into any details, but she has carried that for 29 years, the anger, the animosity, everything that she was feeling. And from that simple verse, anyone who offends you, she's able to help let go. Give it up. Stop holding on. Because anybody who's out there, they didn't do that. And if she's willing to do that, you can be willing to do that. Give it up. Stop holding on. Forgive as God has already forgiven you. There's no reason to hang on to it. This literally just happened a service ago. I had another person that was standing out there talking to them. Literally last service, they've been having issues with her sister. They haven't talked in 7 months. All over a misunderstanding. She told me maybe it's time for me to drop her a card. Forgive. Stop holding on to something, because we take these little misunderstandings and we blow them up. Now granted, 29-year ago incident, we're going to be angry. But a misunderstanding from 7 months ago, maybe it's time to move on and forgive. Maybe it's time to do something a little different. maybe it's time to give up this right to be offended. We just live and go, I'm offended and I hate you now. That's where we live at. Instead of I'm offended, I want to make it better and I want to love with you. Let's make it better to where I don't get offended again. Let's make it better to where I don't have to deal with this. Let's make it to where we can grow and we can love one another and we can help each other through circumstances. Forgiveness for most of us is a process. You know, it takes time. We look at it and go, oh, well, today I'll let them get a little closer. And it's you know, maybe they stand over there and I'm gonna wander around this side of the room. I'll go out that door. And then the next day, well, maybe I'll get a little closer and I'll sneak through this door over here. And then a couple days later, all of a sudden, we're walking right past it. It's a process. It takes us sometimes to where we can get to the point where we go, I forgive. We like to hold on to it. We like to just, really, we just need to forgive and let go of it. Give it up instantly, just like God does. God gives it up as soon as it happens. We go, God, forgive me. Over. It's done. He doesn't hang on to it. He doesn't dwell on it for miles. He doesn't dwell on it and go, 6 months ago, Mike. No. He takes it and goes, it's gone. He doesn't harbor it. He doesn't hang on to it forever. It's gone. What about the 1%? That's serious hurt. Those things that are out there, because all of us have it at some point or another. All of us get it at one point or another. We all get seriously hurt. Every one of us. A spouse walks out. Something tragic happens to a child. A drunk driver kills our family. Something tragic happens all the time. All of us, at some point in our lives, it happens. What are we supposed to do? We go back to exactly what it tells us in the Bible. Forgive. We think that we're justified. We think that we're right. We think that we can go through, they hurt me, so I get to go hurt them. They hurt my family. I got to go take it. The Bible tells us very, very simple. Matthew 6, 14 through 15. For if you forgive men when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men in their sins, your Father will not forgive your sins. I mean, think about that. The more we hold on to stuff, the more unforgiveness we get from our Father. If we're not forgiven, where does that lead us? We have to forgive. We can't hold on to it. We can't continue to allow people to live in our heads because we just want to be offended. We want to continue holding on to it. Oh, I'm so upset. Be compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ, God, forgave you. Be compassionate and forgive. Forgive. Stop holding on to it. It's over and over and over again in the Bible. It continues to talk about forgive, repent. But we don't. We hang on to it. We let it build and build and build, and then we hurt the people around us that we love and what truly matters to us. Somebody driving down the road, they flip us off like I had this morning. I come in, I'm in a bad mood, and all of a sudden my wife is upset with me. Instead of letting it go, and we come in, and then we have a totally different relationship. What do we hold on to that continues to make it to where we continue to live our days based off an incident that happened this morning? We know that day is every day we start up and we get in the morning, God help me get through today. So start asking Him, God help me get through today and be forgiving towards others. Or God help me get through today and just give all this anger that I have on me. Help me give it up. Instead of living in this point where we're like, oh, I want to be angry, and 9 months later or 2 years later or 29 years later, still having anger and animosity to where we are dealing with it right now, where you're not changing anything. You're just living in anger, and you're hurting the people around you that you say you love. Let's change it. It starts now. Set your brain free from the prison that you've put it into. Allow it to move, allow it to start forgiving, allow it to start thinking about things that really matter, rather than holding on to this anger and animosity and this hate from years ago. Most of us never realize that we are our own prisoners. We need to set ourselves free. You know, it's I didn't use it in the last service, but hurt people hurt people. Forgiven people forgive people. Let's change it. Instead of being hurting people, let's be forgiving people. Let's forgive the people around us. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for the guy who flipped me off. Thank you so much for just the animosity that you allow us to have so that we can learn to give it up. And so we can learn to let you have vengeance, let you have the revenge, let you have what's going to happen. God, give me the courage to forgive, even when it's hard. Give me the courage to give it up to you when I don't think I can, and allow you to take over it. Allow you to take this off of me, allow you to take this off my shoulders, and allow you to be in control. Father, help me give up this right to be offended. Help me give it up. Help us give it up. Help us walk away and just know that it's not going to matter tomorrow, and I'm not going to let them live inside of me, that I'm going to move forward. Father, as we get ready to do baptisms, I pray that you watch and you wash us, and you allow us to walk away from this as a new start. We feel refreshed, we feel clean, and we start forgiving those around us. Now we're gonna celebrate, and we look forward to doing this with you. And all this we pray in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.